What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I wanted to share my updated top 3 loadouts to use within Warzone. Now this is something I covered several weeks back when Warzone was still really new and fresh, and things have changed a little bit. I've been messing around with different setups more, and different guns for instance, and now I've kind of settled into 3 loadouts at the moment that are sort of my go-to loadouts. Now, a couple things to keep in mind with these loadouts is, first off, of course, these are based on my preferences, my playstyle. I'm not necessarily saying that if you copy and paste these, they're going to work perfect for you. And also, I still really like having my first loadout with Overkill, and then I have a secondary loadout where I have Ghost on there. So I will often swap to that secondary loadout at some point throughout a match to get that Ghost perk, and then I'll just pick my guns back up from the previous loadout. So in today's video, I'm just sharing my primary loadouts that I use, not the secondary loadouts or the loadouts I'll use when I'm just sort of messing around. These are the ones I use when I'm taking things a bit more seriously. And first up, we have my Grau loadout. Now the Grau is a gun that didn't even initially make it into my top 10 list for best guns in Warzone, and the reason for that is its DPS, or damage per second value, is quite low. It doesn't really put out a ton of damage really quickly, and therefore, up close at least, in a straight-up face-to-face gunfight, the Grau is quite simply going to lose out against almost every other assault rifle in the game. However, the Grau does have a lot of other things going for it that work really well within Warzone. First up, its range values are very, very good for the assault rifle category, and it also gets some of the biggest boosts to its ranges by using barrel attachments. It's got very, very powerful barrels on it. And then when you combine that with the fact that it's got great handling stats like aim down sight time, for instance, excellent mobility, you've got great magazine capacity potential at 60 rounds or 50 if you'd like, and to top all of this off, it's very accurate and easy to control. That does bring that Grau way up on my list now, and it is now one of my favorite guns to use within Warzone. So the ideal attachment combination that I was able to find with this gun is using the monolithic suppressor, because it's very important to stay off the minimap well in Warzone, and you will show up if you don't have a suppressor. Next, for our barrel attachment, I've seen a lot of people recommend the Archangel barrel for this. However, I believe the Nexus barrel is actually a little bit better for Warzone, and the main reason for this is the Archangel barrel, it only gives you 5% extra range boost compared to the Nexus barrel. However, it impacts your aim down sight time quite a bit more. It reduces that aim down sight speed a lot, whereas the Nexus doesn't have nearly as much of an impact in that area, and I do feel that that's quite important, especially if you're being relatively aggressive. On top of that, you'll notice that I'm not using an optic on this loadout. I think the iron sights are excellent with the Nexus barrel. As for the stock, I really like using the no stock attachment, as you guys that have been around the channel already know. This just helps with your movement speed as well as your aim down sight time, and it's very important to snap on a target quickly, and it's also important to get around the map quickly, and that's why I really like that. The gun is still very accurate even though you have no stock equipped. Speaking of accuracy, you'll notice I am using the Commando foregrip, and this is just to help cut down on that side-to-side bounce with your recoil. The Grau, like I said, is already very accurate on its own, but it is nice to cut down on that side-to-side bounce just to make you that much more accurate, and I did a lot of testing in custom games trying to find this optimal setup, and the Commando foregrip was definitely the best bet for this. And that just leaves us with the 60 round extended mag. When you're dealing with multiple enemies, if you're playing trios or quads for instance, you want to get that maximum ammo capacity, and therefore that's why I went with the 60 round mag. Now, as for the rest of the class setup here, you'll see that I am using this Overkill with a sniper rifle, just like with all the classes I'm going to be sharing today. And the reason for this is I just love the versatility of being able to pick somebody off at really long ranges, or if I sneak up behind a squad or an enemy player, instead of lighting them up with my Grau and then potentially giving them a chance to get away, I can pull out the sniper rifle, get a quick headshot, and instantly down them so there's no chance for them to escape. Now, my sniper of choice is actually the AX50. I know the HDR is very popular for a lot of people, but I just feel way more comfortable with the AX50, and I like that you can stack up on more attachments that help with aim down sight speed, which gives me a competitive edge against a lot of HDR snipers out there, or people that don't stack up for aim down sight time. This allows me to quickly jump around a corner and snap on a target really quickly, whereas other snipers are basically locked in place because the moment they come out of aiming down sight, it's going to take them a very long time to get back on target. So with this, I'm using a monolithic suppressor to stay off the radar, the SynGuard Arms Pro barrel, which helps with our bullet drop and bullet velocity. We've got the tac laser on there, mainly for aim down sight time, but this also stabilizes the gun a lot, and this means in close to mid-range situations, if I am forced to use the sniper rifle, I don't need to worry about holding my breath because it's already very stable on its own. Then after that, we've got the Syngard Arms Assassin stock, which helps with our aim down sight time, and the Focus Weapon perk, which reduces that flinch so I can often still stay on target if somebody manages to land a bullet with their assault rifle on me when they're at about mid-range or so. So that's the sniper rifle you'll be seeing on all of the classes that I share with you guys today. As for our perks on this one, we've got Cold-Blooded, so people with thermal sights won't be able to see me nearly as easily at least. Then for perk 2, obviously, we've got Overkill, and perk 3 is Amped. Amped is great so I can swap between my sniper and my primary really quickly and easily, and it also just allows me to throw my C4 a little bit faster, which is nice. Speaking of C4, this is going to be our lethal, and the primary reason for this is vehicles. If somebody comes at me with an SUV or one of the TAC Rovers, it's basically just a free kill or a free squad wipe for me. It's incredibly valuable, and I highly recommend using the C4, in the game's current state at least, where vehicles can be very deadly. And that just leaves us with our tactical, which of course is going to be the heartbeat sensor. I use this on literally every single loadout that I use within Warzone. So that's the first loadout that I use with the Grau, and it's incredibly versatile. I really enjoy using that one. Next up, we have my more aggressive SMG loadout. This is what I'll typically choose if I feel like I'm going to be playing a lot more close quarters. Maybe the circle is like in the downtown area, for instance. I really like using it in these situations. And with this, we're using the MP7 with the monolithic suppressor, the FSS strike barrel, no stock attachment once again, then the 60-round extended mags, and finally the Commando foregrip. Now this gun is already really accurate. You don't necessarily need that Commando foregrip, but I find that it basically eliminates any side-to-side bounce, and then you've got basically just straight vertical recoil, which is very easy to compensate for. And that means I actually feel fairly comfortable challenging people out to about a mid-range with this, and up close, it just absolutely dominates. So as it is right now, I do think the MP7 is the best SMG to be using within Warzone, and I still love it now as much as I did from day one. But looking at the rest of the class setup here, you'll notice for my tier 1 perk, I'm using EOD on this one. And this is primarily to counter the RPG spam that we've been seeing lately. There's a lot of RPG spam, and EOD can be very valuable to fight against people that are using RPGs. And on top of this, I'm often using this loadout in situations where I'm clearing through buildings, and therefore it's just really helpful against those claymores or proximity mines that you might run into. Of course, for our second perk, this is again going to be Overkill with that same sniper rifle I used in the last loadout. And finally, for tier 3, this is Tracker, which is very valuable for clearing buildings. If you chase somebody into a building, for instance, you'll know exactly the direction they went, so they're a lot less likely to take you by surprise once you enter that building. As for our lethal and our tactical, this is the same as the previous loadout, and it'll be the same in the next loadout as well. Both of these pieces of equipment are just vital for the current meta within Warzone. But finally, this leaves us with the third loadout I wanted to share with you guys today, and this is my M13 loadout. This is something I've been using in a lot of my gameplays over the past couple weeks, and people have been really curious about what exactly I'm using on this because it is very effective. So with this, we're using the Tempest Cyclone barrel, which has an integrated suppressor, so that keeps us off the radar, and that's excellent. We're also using a Solo Zero mini reflex on there, just because I like using optics on this. It makes it a bit more versatile when you're trying to challenge people at slightly longer ranges. Once again, of course, we've got that no stock attachment and the 60-round magazine. However, with this one, we're using the Merc foregrip. Now, the reason I like using Merc foregrip on this is there's really not much side-to-side bounce with the M13. There's almost none. And therefore, I wanted to cut down more on the magnitude of the vertical recoil, and the Merc foregrip is great for this. This thing is laser accurate with the Merc foregrip on it. Also, that foregrip helps a little bit with our hip fire, which is just nice for those close quarter situations. And that's how I like to run my M13. This gun is surprisingly good in Warzone, and I think a lot of it is just due to the fact that it has such a high fire rate that it's very forgiving. If you happen to miss a shot or two, it's not going to be the end of the world for you. Unlike if you're using something like a Scar, for instance, if you miss a couple shots with that, you're basically done. Additionally, it's extremely accurate, got that great magazine capacity, and if you're landing consistent headshots, which I find I can do very easily with this, you can put people down very quickly. As for the rest of the class setup, it's actually identical to the first class that I shared for you. So we've got Cold-Blooded, Overkill with that same sniper rifle, and Amped. And then for our equipment, we've got the C4 for the vehicles and the heartbeat sensor to hopefully root out campers as long as they're not using Ghost. But with that, that's going to wrap it up for my top 3 current loadouts that I like using within Warzone. Again, it's not the only 3 that I use. I like messing around sometimes with some different setups. But if I'm taking things a bit more seriously, these are the ones that I really enjoy using. But with that, I am interested in hearing from you guys. What do you guys think about my loadouts? Do you think there's room for improvement? Like, what areas of these loadouts would you change to better suit you and your playstyle? Just let me know those thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.